Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Solo audio program. Recording this at 7:05 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Greater Vegas on Saturday, February 21st, 2026. That makes this episode 2026, so 2026 02 21 01. The title I've selected for today's episode, Tariffs and BILT, B-I-L-T. If you've listened to the previous two episodes of this audio program, you know what BILT is. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. I have made some notes today, and it's early in the morning, and I had a bunch of things that I will include in this episode. As I've mentioned before, sometimes I try to wing it. I try to go a little ad hoc, a little spontaneous, off the cuff, off the top of my head, that kind of stuff. And I still do. Even when I write stuff down, I still improv a little bit here and there, sometimes a lot. When I'm recording my other audio programs, I tend to write them out more. It's when I prepare for any of the programs I produce, I create a sectioned outline of sorts. So there's like a topic area, headline sort of thing, H3, if you are looking at HTML tags. So the H3s are the topic headings, and then I have 3 bullet items under each, and then each of those can have bullets. Rule of three is a common thing in comedy and in other presentations. So that helps me gauge like how much I want to spend on any particular topic. If it's going to be more, I could probably factor it into 2 subtopics, but I keep them as, so anyway, here I don't do it that much. So I really just jot some ideas down, but in either case, I can go off. I can expound in real time. So that part's fine. The fun part is I will often lose my place where I was in my outline within one of the bullet items. Or sometimes I'll redo one bullet. I'll be like, oh, that sounds very familiar. So it's kind of goes with the territory, I suppose. All that said, today, Tariffs and BILT, the show notes, wherever you found this audio program, will contain a summary and the links. Summary of today's episode as I know it so far. 2, production by Street. If you heard that, I think you might be able to hear that. I don't really go through and check and see if the road noise survives the post-production. Post-production, by the way, is I normalize loudness to minus 23 LUFS. That's pretty normal. It prevents things from being too quiet or too loud, so hopefully it sounds okay without you needing to adjust the loudness or the volume of your particular listening setup, give or take. For an individual speaker, I go with minus 23. I guess somewhere in there is pretty typical. If I had multiple speakers, it might be more of a challenge if we had quiet and loud speakers and so on. Anyway, I don't go back and check and see if the automotive sound survived that, because they would be amplified a little bit, because I usually stop talking and then that will make the relative audio level of the car noise or the road noise the thing that gets normalized. So if you hear car noise, that's the way it is. I hear it all the time. The summary of today's episode, 2 great tastes that taste better when they go away. Tariffs and BILT. But not so fast. It isn't quite so easy. It isn't quite that easy. Should I say so easy? It isn't quite so easy. I'm going to change that. It isn't quite so easy. And more. There are more things in today's episode. But we're going to start with those 2. The links, as usual, if you found this episode in its first point of publication, the Ko-fi.com website, Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. If you're finding this in the usual way of podcast discovery, you're not there. So the first link will be to that, Ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. I don't really use it for much, to be honest. I still need to figure out how it will work best for what I'm doing. But I've had the Ko-fi.com/danhugo account, and I've had the buymeacoffee.com/danhugo account since March of 2021. So 5 years. I'll figure something out. Coffee Solo homepage is at danhugo.com. Will it have like a URL to go along with that? Maybe. Honestly, I need to spend more time on that, but I got so much to do. I don't know if I really get any website traffic. I really haven't. I don't know if it's people that are they're just waiting for me to say the website is now looking a little bit better. I don't know. I do have Google Analytics, which is useful to a point. If it became interesting, I would self-host some analytics so I don't have to hand Google everything. But yeah, I can always look, and it wasn't looking like people were visiting my websites, but that's okay because there's not much to see there just yet. But the fact that I do have them in place, in fact, I just renewed FFS Talk and Quaggling Sand. I'm transitioning month by month. I'm transitioning as they're expiring on GoDaddy. I've been transitioning over to Pork Bun, which sounds like a fun little website. They seem to be okay. They have a nice API, which I haven't really used yet, but they at least have it and they make it a real thing. GoDaddy has continued to be less and less appealing over the years, and they're very expensive. I mean, Pork Bun, I don't know if they're doing a loss leader to develop their business, maybe, but their renewal prices on Pork Bun tend to be about half of the renewal price on GoDaddy, plus or minus, but they've been attractive enough so that I've been transitioning. So as they're expiring on GoDaddy, I just move them over to Pork Bun. And I used to have, I've let some go over the recent years too, because I'm just not using them. But yeah, the ones I'm transferring. So I think I'm now down to like 5 or 6 domains remaining on GoDaddy, and a bunch of them are now on Pork Bun. So that's fun for me and cheaper. But the profile page linking everything, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. That has links to all of my audio programs, including this one, where you can find them, the YouTube channels, the Spotify for creators profiles. There are links to the projects I'm working on. There's a little bit of biographical information, and there is a collection of affiliate links. You don't need to spend any money in any of these places. For the foreseeable future, I don't plan on like strictly monetizing these programs I'm creating. They're more just engagement for the world. So hopefully I'm reaching 1 or 2 people that are finding some value in what I'm producing here. If it's more, then great. But hopefully when I point to things that are actually interesting or business-ish, product-ish, whatever, then it will be these mentions that will point people who are interested to those things. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the ad reads in podcasts and whatnot. I understand people have to monetize what they're doing. That's totally fine. I'm just not a fan. What I'm really not a fan of, I have to be honest here, is the YouTube. I pay for YouTube Premium. Is it? Because I consume more YouTube video or YouTube content than any streaming service or whatever. So I pretty much went, you know what? YouTube is feeling a little bit more real. So YouTube without YouTube ads is better. But there are people, and I'm gonna call out Prof G and Kara. What's her name? Kara, is it Kara Swisher? Yeah. There are programs like Pivot and On with Kara Swisher. But Pivot, for example, has both of them. That's their basic, the show with Scott Galloway and Kara Swisher. And they're not the only ones, but I'm just calling them out as an example. They do ad reads. And from what I understand, I'm not in this tier, but from what I understand, if you are a content creator on YouTube and you have a follower count or subscriber count or sufficient views or whatever it is, you get to indicate where the ads go. So if you get interrupted in a in an ad account, someone watching without YouTube Premium, they will see ads served by YouTube, or they'll be sold by YouTube, right? So AdSense or whatever, AdWords. No, what is it? AdSense? AdWords? The ad program that YouTube uses. The reason for all the guidelines and the off limits language and so on, right? Don't want to upset the advertisers. Okay, well, they're the ones paying for all this, so why not? I'm paying for YouTube Premium, and I still get the ad reads, so they'll just insert their own ad read in the space, I guess. I'm assuming this is what happens. So I'm still getting ads, even though I'm paying. So it's like Hulu and Amazon Prime Video, right? Prime Video. And Hulu does I had been a subscriber to Hulu, which is now owned by Disney or whoever now. for years. And I always liked, I liked enough shows that I was like, okay, that's a nice one. They used to have Suits. I used to like watching Suits because it's so ridiculous, but that moved to Netflix, I think. What else did I like on there? Oh, well, they do have, and I'm still going to watch this. They do have Justified, Timothy Oliphant. Good. Oliphant. I enjoy his work. I liked him in Deadwood. Alien Earth was a travesty and a train wreck, but he was okay in that one. But in general, Tiffany Oliphant, good stuff. So Justified, they have the whole series and then some other stuff on there, like some mini series or whatever it was. So I didn't catch the end of the series or whatever state it was in. And then Disney was going to raise the price. I'm not even on the outline, by the way. Disney was going to raise the prices, which they did. So I suspended my account at that time. So I didn't pay the new price, which still includes commercials. And then the other day, probably a week ago or so, I get an email. Your Hulu account is back. So the suspension period where I suspended my account, you only can suspend it for like 60 days or something. So now you can log in and watch your shows and whatever. I was like, damn it. Because I really wanted to binge watch Justified, and then I was going to really cancel it. So I figured, oh, we'll see what happens. So I logged in and I was like, I'm not going to watch Justified. I'll figure something out later, some other time. So I went to cancel my account, and they're like, hey, why don't you keep your account for a few more months at $3 a month? I was like, all right, I'm going to watch Justified somewhere in here, and then I will cancel this for real. So I still have a Hulu account, but the whole point of that is they still insert ads, even though you're paying. I'm not a fan at all. So there you go. And so, yeah, you don't have to spend anything on buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. You can click on an affiliate link or whatever. I don't even know how much I get from those because nobody really ever has, as far as I'm aware. But they're things that I actually use, and so consider them mild endorsements of products. And if you want to click on them to purchase something, great. But either way, and you can buy me a coffee if you want, or you can do the Ko-fi.com thing as well if you want, or don't. That's fine. I'm not good at calls to action, apparently. Now on with the actual show as planned. Remember, it's Tariffs and BILT. So first things first, and again, I name the show based on the first topic that I tackle. Eventually, if I stop writing the show ahead of time, then it will be whatever. But today I've written a bunch of stuff down. So the big news, Trump tariffs have been overturned. Yay. Canceled. It's all over. The headlines are many. The YouTube clickbait headlines are even more. Except it really isn't over. There's all manner of chaos coming, as not all of the tariffs are rolled back. So there were some that are still in effect. It was the IEEPA tariffs that are rolled back, but there's other shenanigans that are already happening. Will they refund monies? There was something about 150 or 175 billion dollars that will have to be repaid to other countries. That's a question. Like, what's going on there? There's continued corruption. Apparently, Lutnick, or however you want to pronounce his name, in other condescending ways. His family, his sons, that own the crypto company that is backing the Trump family crap, which is all corruption anyway, they were buying up basically options, or I guess a futures market on tariff refunds. So now they're going to make a ton of money on this, because if the tariffs are repaid because they were illegal, the fraction that are illegal, right? So there's a lot of excitement and celebration, but if you really dig down into, and I did not do this, but I've, like, Anthony Scaramucci, I'm kind of a fan. He's kind of annoying, but okay. He, for example, was pointing out they did a little emergency, the rest is politics, US, with him and Caddy K. He's like, well, it was about 60% of the tariffs, and it's going to be a mess and whatever. So some people are eager to celebrate, and others are like, well, let's see what's really going to happen here. This is going to be a mess. So the bad guys will still make money. That's a given. And you will get nothing, nor will I, because we are individuals and we are not worthy. And then Trump already, like within minutes, was like, okay, I'm going to just apply a 10% global tariff on everything. And that's ridiculous. And the big problem I have with this is there's still people that don't understand how tariffs work, what a tariff is. They should just call it a tax, an import tax that's applied at the input side. So as the thing comes in, as it is imported into the US, that is where the levy is assessed, and that's where you're supposed to pay it. I think what Trump has been he's been talking about tariffs for decades, and he loves the idea that in order to compete in a marketplace where tariffs are being applied, he would probably convince you by saying, well, China, for example, but anyone, they have to reduce their prices to match the American marketplace because the tariff will bring their prices higher, and so they are no longer competitive. So they will have to pay, in quotes, by reducing their prices, so eating the tariff, and then the tariff will come in on the import side, and so somebody will have to pay that. So maybe the exporting country will pick up that, and maybe that's why external monies are owed, right, to some other countries. But at the end of the day, the tariff is levied at the import side. So somebody who's paying the tariff, it could be the importing company, it could be your Amazon or your Kroger, right, if they're importing food, whatever it is. And ultimately that will go towards increased prices. And then the other thing that nobody ever highlights, if now, for example, tariffs on Chinese automobiles are such that it's ridiculous. I think it's 100% or something. And that is specifically to prevent Chinese automobiles from entering the U.S. market. If the Chinese automobiles were given like a 10% tariff instead of 100, then their prices would be whatever plus 10%. So the sticker price. The sticker price would likely have some sort of an increase from the actual plus profit plus the tariff, right? Probably somewhere in there, some final price. And if that was higher than its competitors, your Teslas and your Rivians and whatnot, Tesla and Rivian could raise their prices to that price point so that they're now all price competitive. So tariffs can actually cause inflationary pressure by enabling local or other markets to raise their prices to meet or come closer to, maybe probably slightly just below, the prices with tariffs on them. So at the end of the day, who pays for all this stuff? The consumer. That's us. That's you and me. So it's a shake my head situation. It should be something that's getting more analytical attention, analysis. So, but people really should be understanding this more than I'm not paying the tariffs. Whoever else, somebody else is paying the tariffs. And it's like, well, yeah, that somebody else is like Amazon or whoever, and then you're paying increased prices. And you can look at imported grocery items like coffee, for example, not only climate change related crop yields and whatnot, but also, there's going to be tariffs on Brazil, there's going to be tariffs on Colombia, whatever it is, wherever the coffee that you're getting is coming from, Ethiopia maybe. But anyway, I just think and because there's so much other turmoil in the news of the day, every single day, I think tariffs have just been like, and then there's the tariffs, that little annoyance. So I don't know that there's been a complete and total understanding. If tariffs were levied on gasoline, so that pump prices went up by 10%, 20%, perhaps then there would be a greater understanding of what's going on. Like, wait a minute, this sucks. But instead, pump fuel prices are always a political cudgel of sorts. So I think Trump commented, I'm not a Trump fan, by the way. I think Trump commented about 2 or 3 weeks ago that gasoline pump prices were at $1.99, the lowest ever in history. And just yesterday, I think, my understanding is in Phoenix, where some of my family lives, the prices have gone from $1.99 to, I don't know if that was correct, but they're up over $3. Maybe it was $2.99. Whatever the price was weeks ago, it is now, I think it was some say $3.50, right? So if at some point somebody said, we're going to add tariffs onto gasoline, and the price at the pump went from $3.50 to $3.85 overnight, that would be a little like, wait a minute, I thought this was being paid by oil exporter country. And then somebody could say, no, that's not how tariffs work. And then maybe eventually people would say, oh, so the Democrats have been lying to me this whole time. It's ridiculous. I wish everyone would take a basic economy class and then look at the history of how the Great Depression came about. No small part of it was due to tariffs and trade policy being totally out of whack. And leverage on the stock market, of course, another component of that. Anyway, just ridiculous. And the amount of celebration happening while there is insufficient, and again, analysis, I suppose is the right word, of what it really means and what's already happening J.D. Vance came out with a dumb comment about how the Supreme Court is lawless. He's probably asserting that they're an activist court now that doesn't understand how the Constitution works and whatnot. Yeah. What is it? What's his name? Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. He's already, oh yeah, well, we'll figure something out. So they'll probably do something to somehow enable this silliness. It's just going to be an interesting time. And there's all kinds of other stuff going on. It's just ridiculous. I did an entire episode of FFS talk on apathy. I call it structured apathy. Like the things that you can't control, they're not worth caring about. So it's not a question of I don't care, but I cannot assign the same level of attention and care to what's going on with tariffs. I cannot possibly assign that as much of my mental bandwidth as like BILT, for example. Did you see that transition coming? So BILT, I talked about this the other day, the previous two episodes, the internet was buzzing with BILT rewards having problems. So I saw enough other people with similar situations that I figured, okay, this is going to be something that will work out in my favor eventually. And when I say in my favor, I mean, I will get the late fees back that they charge me in error. But I did, I contacted support and I emailed, and that was a fool's errand until the end when they said, oh, yes, okay, so just send us a screenshot of your I guess, ledger for February, and we will refund any late fees. So I said, now I want you to be, so I responded to that email. It's a Zendesk support thread. I said, I want you to be very explicit because I'm going to forward this to the place where I live. Be very clear that it was BILT's fault and not mine that there was a late payment. So that, oh yes, the failure on the 3rd was due to system failures on our side, and then you resubmitted on the 6th, and that was our fault, and we're refunding the late payments. So I came to find out yesterday, because now that there's an electronic check for the rebate or the refund is the right word, for the late fees, which I should never have been charged. So there's an e-check. Hopefully it will be clearing the automated clearinghouse process. If not this morning, because it is Saturday, then I guess Monday. So they sent me an e-check. So I went down and I figured, okay, well, I would like all this to be wrapped up. So when that clears, I will feel a little bit better, because you never know. But so I went to the office and I said, have other people had problems with BILT? And they were like, no. I don't even know if they know what I'm talking about. But I described the one sentence version, and they're like, oh, let me pull it. And they said, oh yeah, it says here on your permanent record, the late fees and whatnot. And I said, right, they are already refunding me that. And they said, oh, okay. I said, I'm going to forward you the Zendesk email that says that. And they said, okay, yeah. So this tells me something very important. BILT were not sharing this information with people that are using BILT. So I had to follow up with them many times, and their automated chat BS. Holy shnikes, is that bad? So if I did not follow up, they were not going to proactively credit me anything. They were not going to admit to error. They were not going to proactively, they didn't proactively contact the property company and say, oh yeah, by the way, you're using our services to process your rent payments from the people living there. Yeah, we kind of screwed up and we may have charged them late fees. So this to me is incompetence and possibly even, I don't want to say criminal, but it's certainly unethical, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. Oh, all you have to do is understand what happened, contact us, and then we will take a very long time. Their support system was completely incapable of actually handling this for the success. So 10 days in my case. 10 days of trying to contact support. Oh, yes, a human will be on the chat in a moment. And it would be 6 hours. It would time out. And all. So absolute BS. So not only did they not reach out to people who were directly affected, so me, I had to do the reaching. And eventually, and again, they were, oh, yeah, just send us a screenshot and we'll send you the refund. And I said, why do I have to send you a screenshot? Oh, because we can't actually see your transaction history. Okay, maybe you should be upfront with people and say, in order for us to help you, you have to send this because we don't have visibility into these charges. So apparently they weren't even keeping track. Hey, here are the people that were just out of the blue charged late charges during our system outage. By the way, this is word to the wise. If you are in a transaction processing business, like you accept rent payments or anything that you're doing where it's going to be in the first 3 or 4 or 5 days of a month, think about delaying that a little bit. First of the month through the 5th of the month, if you're going to make some sort of a system change that could impact what is almost certainly a peak volume, transaction volume for any particular month. So right away, BILT is incompetent. Okay, send me the screenshot. Great. And they said, okay, we'll refund them the late charges. So be very clear. So the property company didn't have any idea. So I sent them that yesterday. So I said, here's the email thread. They're refunding the money. And to be honest, I will never hear back from them because they have an HR-like policy. Oh, yes, if you email us something, we're never going to respond because that's like a paper trail. We certainly wouldn't want that. But completely disappointing. The finer details are just sort of left in the wind. BILT doesn't care. They're not going to follow up with me. I said, I'm going to try to not have to deal with BILT based on this. And just my general disdain for them. They don't care. They do not care in the slightest. So just like tariffs, things are happening to us. We really don't have a say, even though it's not to our benefit in the slightest. So yeah, I said, do I have to use BILT? And they're like, well, there's really no other choice unless you want to pay your rent with a cashier's check every month. I said, I can do that. My credit union, I walk across the street and I can go to my credit union and I can have them print me a cashier's check for free. They do it for free. I've done it before for, moving into a new place. They often want a cashier's check. When they were transitioning, when they sold this property in which I live to a big giant company that's initials are Cushman and Wakefield, oh, yes, we didn't transition our rent payment system, so you're going to have to pay your rent with a cashier's check. They just kind of sprung that on everyone. And again, luckily, totally free. It was a piece of cake for me to do it, but I was like, this is not a good sign, the way they're handling this. So no surprise. Okay, enough ranting about that. The Smarter Smart City Challenge continues to march along in a sea of apathy. It's called Las Vegas. I say this because the LinkedIn universe, where I've been mostly trying to get some connections to recognize this, and I've been adding connections even though I hate LinkedIn, the LinkedIn universe around this is not so large. So we have 117 people following the Smart City Vegas page, for example. Nobody cares. People in the LinkedIn universe are so self-absorbed that following a LinkedIn page or liking some post is considered participation. Oh, I did my part. I followed the page. Right. That's not how the world works. And some even consider that action. Like, I liked that post. That's enough, right? No. That'd be like, I created a post that my home was on fire. And you get a lot of people liking it. You're like, you didn't help with the fire, though. So yeah, people, and I've talked about this before about missing persons. Oh, I liked the page with the missing child thing that you posted on Facebook. You're like, well, if you clicked on it, you would have seen they were found, not on my page, I don't do LinkedIn. I'm sorry, I don't do Facebook anymore. But I used to, when we were building Search Party, not to be confused with the Ring BS. So when we were doing, was it Ring or what's the other one? Doesn't matter. So we were building something to enable people, pets, and property searches and so on, not with cameras, with people. And so I was kind of looking to see what people do with this stuff. And people still post photos of their dog on a light post or any pet. I've seen missing persons posts on light posts. They certainly post them on Facebook. And I would see, oh, you reshare, and people are sharing and putting little hearts and pressed hands together and all this stuff. And if you click on these things, usually the person was found months ago, for better or worse, right? Good news or bad news. I'm like, why are you're wasting people's time by doing it? You should spend that time, just click on the thing and see what it is. Oh, they found the person? Not going to share it. So you think you're doing something helpful, but you're not, and you're actually wasting the time of others and so on. So there's really no upside to that. Similarly, the 117 people following our LinkedIn page for Smart City Vegas, they're not going to do anything else. So having 117 followers is just 117 people to actively ignore them. They're not worth, I have to be honest, they're not, because there's several teachers I've been trying to connect with, principals of schools and whatnot, because we want to include people of all ages, but we also are not going to reach out to minors. If you're under 18, you're not going to be hearing from us trying to get you to sign up for, we just don't want to get into that. So if you are in 7th grade or 10th, somewhere in high school, or if you're in kindergarten, whatever, if you have ideas, if you want to participate, maybe a classroom team, right? Totally cool. The children are our future. They should promote the promotion of innovation as a notion. We're all for it. We're not going to reach out and try to contact kids. That's it. Piece of cake. So in the LinkedIn page, I've posted things that say like, hey, educators, we're not going to reach out to your students, but you could. And if we want to talk to you about coordinating parents too, right? Parental permission. We don't want to have, we have to comply with COPA, obviously the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. That's from the 80s. The Child Online Security Act, COSA. I think that's that one. So you can't, we're just not going to we're not going to get into that. We want young people to participate, but we're not going to have them signing up and using their email addresses and putting pictures. That's for parents and teachers to manage. They are the interface, parents, teachers. Zero response, zero interaction as a result of the outreach to the teachers. And I tagged teachers, educators, principals of schools, actual teachers. The superintendent of the school district is following the LinkedIn page. Will she do anything about it? Absolutely not. Same with trying to get some local press to even notice that we're trying to do this. This is a year-long event. Well, 10 months, 10 and a half. All through, we're trying to get normal people to participate in a challenge. So not a weekend hackathon. This is like all year. If you have an idea, you want to try to make our city a better place, a smarter smart city, as it's called. But I'm not a coder. That's okay. A smart city doesn't, the example I'm really going to start leaning into is like, hey, you know how in Egypt they had all this cool stuff going on thousands of years ago? Those were smart cities. They didn't need a computer programming experience. They didn't have to know how to build computers. They had to know how to move large granite slabs around, perhaps. But you have to care about where you live, and you have to say, that's something that should be fixed. Maybe I have an idea to fix it, whatever it is. So there's a whole bunch of topic areas. There's a whole bunch of things that go into being a smart city. The one that's usually forgotten or not mentioned explicitly is the actual people who live there. So usually, it's traffic and cameras and microphones, and you can pick up, and there's going to be drones and robots and stuff. Is that helping anyone? Well, it's going to be more smart. Like, well, does that help with public safety? Does it help with quality of life? Does it help with education? Does it help with transit, like mobility? Does it help with access to electricity or the internet? No, because those are all people-centric. Most of the smart city talk you will encounter is about technology and how we're going to make everything shinier. So I'll get off the soapbox. So the idea is to enable people who live here in Greater Vegas or who visit to participate on their own terms at any age And over the course of the year, so they don't have to say, oh, I couldn't go that weekend because I work. Like, no. You can take any time you want. You can have a team. It can be by yourself. Do I have to build a website or something? If you want, you can build a website. You can build an app. You can make a presentation. You can create a video. You can do a documentary series. If you have an idea, let's turn that into an actionable, innovative thing that can take any form. And then one of the possibilities might be an RFP, a request for proposal. So you might say, hey, city council or a county commission, I'm going to submit to you an RFP that you can own and get external vendors or service providers of some sort to take this action that I'm describing. And here's why, right? So will cities jump on this and participate in some way? No idea. Track record, not good. But yeah, so we're continuing to climb this mountain. So at the end of February, so February 28th, about 7 days from now, we're going to deprecate the use of the LinkedIn page to reach people. So deprecation means you're basically putting it on deck for removal. So, hey, we're not going to be using this LinkedIn page as a primary way to engage with people, parentheses, because it isn't. People, you aren't liking or engaging anything anyway. And likes are worthless, as I said. But we're clearly not making any sort of a dent in the public consciousness about this upcoming event. So on March 1st, we're going to enable early signups for people who are proactively interested. And those are the people we will actually engage in conversation, because not only are they welcome to start thinking about ideas that they would like to pursue and whatnot, we want to talk to people who are proactively interested about, well, how many hackathons should we have during the course of this? And how can we make sure that people who cannot attend hackathons can still participate in other ways that are more asynchronous? The whole list of things. So, because if you think about it, if you're going to participate in something where making your communities, your city, the place where you live in general, I would like to make this better. The first question to ask someone like that is, well, what's the best way to enable you to participate in this, right? So we've been having meta planning meetings online, and only twice has anyone showed up. I've been doing them twice a week and nobody shows up anyway. But meta planning, that means we're planning the foundational parts in preparation for the actual planning, which is where we get people who are going to participate in the planning. That's a lot of P words. But the bottom line, it's like saying, hey, we're meta planning a birthday party. And when the birthday guest of honor is available, we'll say, hey, should we have a chocolate cake or a red velvet? You can ask specific details so that it works for them. Do you want to have it on your birthday? And obviously not a surprise party, but we're not doing a surprise challenge. This is open to everyone. So we're going to try, instead of handing people, this is what you're going to get. Instead, it's more of a, here's what we're going to do. And here are some options that we have available. What do you think? Let's get this ball rolling in the right direction. And another thing that hopefully this will help with is that people will decide, hey, this is a cool idea. I'm going to tell my friends. I'm going to see if I can form a team. I'm going to see if anybody else in the other community wants to. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more organic outreach, because reaching out to teachers to talk to their students, I don't see that happening. Reaching out to local media to see if they want to talk about it in the local press, like the newspapers and so on, probably not going to happen. So we got to be guerrilla, G-U-I, guerrilla. Like, we got to get down on the ground. We got to go reach out into communities and talk to people directly. And we have to get people on board who also want to do the same. Those people are not on LinkedIn. They're certainly not following our LinkedIn page. And the people who are certainly not going to like, share, follow. They don't really care. So welcome to the world. I'm not going to harp on LinkedIn today any more than I have, but I will say that I'm getting very, very tired of the corporate web. Pick your favorite, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, even Blue Sky. Blue Sky is just X with a different coat of paint on it, really. Yeah, we know who they are. Instagram, garbage. Even YouTube. YouTube is becoming AI slop central. It's becoming a complete waste of time. There will be a point, not this year probably, but probably next year, where YouTube Premium is just not worth it. If there's not I don't want to see YouTube slop, videos that are made with AI, They're just garbage. And you can, there's a quick test. Anything that's Vegas related, for example, 100% of the time, AI generated slop pronounces Fontainebleau. That's Fontainebleau. Blow. That blows. So as soon as you start hearing that stuff, or they put pauses in sentences that are incorrect, or they anyway, yeah, it's not going to fly. But anyway, but the internet of today is either corporate and BS and getting inundated with the slop, and it's all gaming people trying to get into the top of the algorithm so you get presented and monetize more and so on. So I'm totally in on the Fediverse, decentralization. Now, I was in the internet world. I don't know. I worked at Netscape in 1996, 96. I think it was 96. I worked on Communicator, Netscape 4.0 Communicator. I caught the tail end of Netscape Navigator 3.0. So worked on encryption and some other stuff. So I was there. I was there when the internet was, I mean, not at the very super early beginning, but I was there in the early days where people were hand code. It was HTML 3.2, I think at the time, was the going standard. I was there when DHTML was becoming a thing. So, oh, look, you can make JavaScript build pages dynamically, dynamic HTML, DHTML. And there was animations and movement and, the pre-Web 2.0, but this was the underpinnings of it. So if you look up DHTML, you'll find all kinds of mentions of that stuff. So Web 2, Ajax, Comet, JavaScript frameworks, dynamic page content, JSON, all these things started coming out and becoming the new big thing and all that. And so building websites became like a profession rather than a little, oh, look, you can put up a website. You can view source and you can copy and paste blocks of HTML and put it on your own page and it's that. So that all sort of became backseat to, oh, look, you can build with React or what's the other one? React, or I can't remember the Google one. Facebook React and Angular. Thank you. Angular, Facebook, React. Maybe you're still going with jQuery. I built something with jQuery Mobile when jQuery Mobile was basically just a hack around jQuery. I was never a fan of jQuery. I don't really like JavaScript at all. But it's the lingua franca of the web. So you can build sites as little applications and whatnot, but then people are like, yeah, but nobody visits websites anymore anyway. They all go to Facebook. But I would say, well, there's an awful lot of people that are building frameworks and new Shad and Vue and who knows? There's so many. It's Saturday. There's probably 10 more frameworks to figure out. So I try to avoid all that. But the important part is that people are kind of getting a little tired of it. And what's his name? Zuckerberg was just in some congressional hearings now about, I think it's about safety or privacy or something. Who knows? Who cares? Facebook is crap. But they've done their damage and they've made their money. So good for them. But I am totally in on the Fediverse. I think that should be a thing that people are doing and using more often. The Fediverse has, everybody's like, oh, Blue Sky. Now there's a whatever app that somebody built around it. You're like, yeah, there's essentially a big company equivalent in the so-called Fediverse. There's a Lemmy is like Reddit. There's Pixel. What's it called? Pixel something. That's like Instagram. Pixel Fed. Thank you. When I say thank you, it's just my memory catching up. There's nobody here. Pixel Fed, Lemmy, Mastodon, of course, is when I say similar to Twitter, that's not an insult. It's just that's what you're going to notice first. Oh, it's like Twitter. Not quite. And that's why people are like, oh, no, Blue Sky is much more like Twitter, except it's more left-leaning than right-leaning. Okay, that makes me happy. And you're like, no, you don't have to do that. So there are thousands of Mastodon servers. Pixel Fed, there's, what's it called? Tube. I should know this. There's a YouTube equivalent. What is it? Fediverse. Fediverse.info has some stuff. What do we got here? I should know this video. What am I looking for? Yeah. PeerTube. How did I not remember that? PeerTube is like YouTube, but it's a Fediverse. So the Fediverse, one of the interesting things is that you can interact with people without signing. So if with Mastodon, everybody gets confused by oh wait, I don't understand. You're on Fostodon, but I'm on Hachyderm, whatever the server's names are, right? Like, no, just do at Dan at D Hugo Dan Hugo at Dan Hugo at Fossadon. No, I don't. I don't understand that. I'm like, well, if you were going to send me email, maybe you would send it to danhugo at fossadon.org. Yeah. But if you put an at symbol at the front, no, I don't understand that. That's too complicated. Okay. So there are people that have not embraced this because it's too complicated. But, and this is not as intuitive as I would like it to be because of the way ActivityPub is sharing information. But there are adapters and whatnot, so it's more of a server administrator thing than a user experience thing. But it could creep into there. It's still early days. Mastodon is like 10 years old. But in these days, for example, Facebook has Threads, and Threads does support some ActivityPub interactions. So I can follow, I think I follow myself between a Mastodon account and my Threads account. I don't really use Threads, so I just wanted to see how well it was working. So the big thing is if you post something on Threads and I'm following you from Mastodon, I will see your post in my feed. I hate that word. So I will see a stream of, it's called ActivityPub. It will be published. So I can see your activity stream published in my feed of your activity stream. So my activity stream has activities from others. So I could be following PeerTube and I would see something in my Mastodon stream, right? So the idea is to make the sharing of these updates not require you to sign up and be in a particular platform's walled garden. So, I mean, yeah, this is not an episode of this program about the Fediverse, but the point is it frees you from having to be a part of a corporate infrastructure and their impoopification timeline. I literally, well, when I wrote this down, I had just watched it. Now it's a couple hours ago. I watched somebody who made a video about the indie web, an indie web fan. And it was, oh, we're taking back the web and we're bringing it back to the people on the web and not the big companies. So indie web, INDIE, indie web. I think it's .com or .org. Don't remember. Indieweb.org. So INDIEWEB, IndieWeb, .org. So if you type in that / and then POSSE in all capitals, if you like, that is publish on your own server, syndicate elsewhere, POSSE, no spaces. So, or you can just Google or search, however you prefer, IndieWeb, POSSE. The idea is that instead of going to LinkedIn or going to Twitter or going to Facebook and typing your stuff into their platform, you publish your stuff on your own platform. So you have a domain name of your own, or you have some way of owning your content. Maybe you have a computer under your desk and your stuff lives there. And then you publish links to your stuff. So you post a link on Twitter or Facebook and you link it back, you point it to your own stuff. So publish on your own server or publish on your own. I don't know if they use server. What does Posse stand for again? Publish on your own site. Same thing. Publish on your own site, syndicate elsewhere. So you you syndicate your content on Twitter, Blue Sky, maybe your Mastodon account, maybe your Facebook, maybe your Lemmy, maybe your Reddit, right? So instead of your content, and this happens with the YouTube stuff where, I got canceled on YouTube. They suspended my account. They deleted it completely. I lost 1 million followers because those 1 million followers were only aware of you on that platform. So when you move, that platform has basically said, see ya. That's it. You built your channel in our world and now we're kicking you out, but we're keeping all the people that were following you because we want to we want to advertise to them and so on. So the entire world has kind of bought into this, unfortunately. And that's where you get big companies owning and controlling who gets to talk to whom and who gets to share what with whom and so on. So I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here. This is just how these models work. So a similar thing would be Amazon is now like the #1 retailer. So if you want to sell a product, the only way to reach your customers is through Amazon. Amazon can turn off your entire company. They can replicate your product or service and they can undercut your prices. That happened with diapers. You can look that up if you want. Diapers of all things, who knew? But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. So the indie web concept is one that I bring. I don't, indie web itself, okay, sure. But Fediverse, owning your own content, publishing it your own way as you see fit, and so on. And so, fun fact: the entire Munibits concept is going to be built around this notion. So a lot more stuff will be owned by other people, not like we're not making another WordPress is the idea. So I personally will continue to lean toward this future, and we'll see how many people we can drag along into a more sovereign internet where you get to control your presence on there. Basically, if you really think about it, the internet has become not just a series of tubes. I can't remember which government person said that, but the internet has become, I don't know if you want to say a prison, but instead of enabling the connection and enabling people to use those connections, they've kind of grabbed the connections by controlling the nodes, the things that are on in between the connections, the things that are connected. So if I'm using the internet by making a Facebook page, or we made a LinkedIn page for Smart City Vegas. Yeah, but then you can only post certain things. There's a certain format, and people only see your content if if it feeds the algorithm and it looks the right way or presses the right buttons or whatever. So yeah, there's no real need for that. So moving into the past to get to the future, if you like. The connections are the important part, not the owners or it shouldn't be the case that the owners of the interconnected places are the ones who control everything. Maybe this is why I like food trucks. The whole notion of like, I'm going to go where the business is, not where I have to pay rent to be in a brick and mortar building and so on. It's not a great example, but a little bit of freedom to move around, I think, is okay. So that's the indie web future. Another car, if you could hear that. I was going to step out into the air, go outside a bit and interact with humans. Check out the Las Vegas startup scene via a meetup group that was recently restarted on meetup.com. Unfortunately, I think it's called Las Vegas Startups, but I bailed on it. Why did I bail on it? Well, first of all, it started out as it was 25 people, I think. I'm not a Meetup premium user, so Meetup Pro, so I don't know who they were exactly. I don't care for Meetup in the slightest. But so I was going to go, and it started off as like, we're not sure on the location. So right now it's like in an office building or something. That would have been fine. So, okay, location change. We're going to be at the Hookah Habib or Habub or something. Honestly, I don't remember what it is, but it's, let's see if I can. Hookah Habibi. There you go. Hookah Habibi, Las Vegas beer tap room and hookah. So if I was going to have a meetup of adults talking about adult things, great. The problem I have with Vegas, there are a few problems, but they've basically built in you pretty much got to be 21 to be here. So they're having a meetup for 21 plus entrepreneurs. That's not everybody in the startup scene. There could be younger people. There are. So the location was still downtown, which is centrally located. So that's good. But why are you having it at a bar? It was from 6 to 7:30, I think, or somewhere in there. So it wasn't particularly late. If you're at a startup, we have to have it later in business. Why don't you have it in the middle of the day? If you're going to be so concerned with getting startup people to participate, they shouldn't be going, well, we have to wait until after 5 p.m. when the boss goes home. Who knows? Who knows what their thinking was? But the 21 plus thing, having events at bars or age restrictive venues, to me is a kind of a non-starter. So there's no age requirement to be entrepreneurial nor innovative. So this is for some reason the mindset in Vegas is stuck on 21. It's ridiculous. The central location is easy to do here, though people are more often selecting locations in the southwest part of Greater Vegas, which is a problem. People do not think. They just don't. Oh, we'll have it way out of the way for most people, and you have to be 21. Great. So yeah, I just don't want to spend time. This is the same road. It's almost like a crank, right? We want to get people doing startups together, so we'll pick a bar in the evening, and that will be everybody, right? That's backwards thinking. It's not the 80s. So disappointing. But also I didn't, I mean, the group of people attending went up to like 40 something, and meetup.com is not good for if you're not a pro member, you don't get to see who anybody is. So I'm like, okay, the two people I do know who are attending, I really don't want to go and interact with either of them. So that was it. I think and I had reached out to the guy who was, I can't remember his name, Michael something, on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, nope, he totally blew me off there too. So I was like, I don't want to this is not for me. The thing I always go back to in the Vegas area is this. There are about 300 people that are proactively moving around and engaging within the so-called startup community. It's an overused term. There's about 300 people, maybe 500, but it's definitely close to 300, plus or minus. So you're going to see the same people in various places. There may be some newcomers and whatnot. There should not be tools in place that make it difficult to identify and connect with people. And there should also be an interest in doing that proactively. The fact that we don't have that is a culture mismatch, which is unfortunate. But also, if there's 300 people, and again, it could be 500, it's not more than 1,000. And these are people that are proactively engaging in the startup environment, right? There are more than 1,000 entrepreneurs. There's probably a lot more, but they're doing their thing. So they're not going to network gatherings and so on. But if you're going to do that and you're only getting the same 300 people or a subset, right? 45, it's pretty much going to be in that group of 300 people. Even at Startup Week Las Vegas back in October 2025, and this was the second or third one, I think it was the second one, the total number of signups were 500, and 100 or 200 of those were not local, right? They indicated where they're from or something. So 300. And Clark County has 2.3 million people. The city of Las Vegas has 580,000-ish. So we keep seeing the same 300 people. To me, that is not value. So I bailed on that. There's got to be a better way. There has to be. I mean, come on. So I did not go, and I will not go. I removed myself from the group. I'm done. There's got to be more interesting ways to approach this problem of connecting people and elevating communities and so on. And the number one problem is discovery. The number two problem is people caring enough to actually engage. So those two problems are not solved by going to a 21 plus venue. And, okay, I'll leave that there for now. It's this could go on for hours. Let's talk about the weather. The winter storms are passing through Vegas. I think it's the second or third one that just blew through here. It was cold. It's not getting down to negative. No, I have both Fahrenheit and Celsius in various places to kind of, I just always want to be kind of aware of the relative temperatures. So I think overnight here in Vegas, it was like 4 degrees Celsius. And if you very quickly multiply by 2, so 8, and then, so you can remove 10%, no, 20%, 10%. But say it's like 8 plus 32, so 40 degrees. And right now I have one temperature that's reading 33F and one is reading 38. These are internet temperatures, so it's not a thermometer on my window or anything. But so it may have dipped down to less during right before sunrise. But it was like 4 degrees at 3 or 4 in the morning, Celsius. So the point is, it was very cold. It's not getting down into the like sub-freezing. It might. It's only February 21st. But yeah, cold and very windy the other day. Not as windy last night. The take home, very refreshing because it was staying pretty warm, like relatively warm for being the winter in the desert. I was like, is it gonna okay, it's cold now. And the nice thing, and I think it was 2 years ago, there was a fire. There usually is somewhere. And the jet stream and whatnot for winter always brings the smoke from fires in California to the Vegas area, southern Nevada. So I think it was 2 years ago, but there was snow on the mountains, which is nice to see, sure. But there was like a gray black sort of haze in the air. So I don't think we have that this year. I've found the air to be crisp and refreshing, good to breathe, which is always nice. But yeah, the weather has been a little weird. I don't know if I mean, global warming is a hoax, right? Climate change, that's all made up by Democrats or something, if I heard correctly. AI is everywhere. It's getting to be a little bit much, almost everywhere. If it isn't somewhere, it's being talked about in whatever, like, oh, is there any AI in my breakfast cereal? There could be. And it's either going to be in glowing terms like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general, or the blockchain or Web3. Like there's a hype population that's always there. Oh, this is going to change the world, and you better be on. If you're not already doing it, you're falling behind, and you're going to. Okay, it's a lot of prognostication there. We are in the same timeline as you are, so how are you so on top of what the future holds? Yeah, I'm in the software engineering profession. The more I hear commentary from people that are hands-on, that are being honest, they're like, we tried, just literally watched this video earlier, about 2 hours ago. And he's like, yeah, we did this whole startup. We were vibe coding. So we were leaning heavily into AI tools that are building code for us and whatnot. And he said, you know what? First of all, it's not saving us time. We have to work harder. It seemed like we were busier, and more of the stuff that the AI was generating and building and, quote unquote building, had to get more inspection. We had to get more involved with it. He said, initially we built something that kind of worked. Like, oh, look at this. Look at what we did in a week. This is going to be a piece of cake. And he said a couple of weeks later, like, we can't possibly ship this. We're not able to produce, it's not production ready. We wouldn't give this to customers without a big disclaimer, right? Like, this is alpha. You were an early adopter. But yeah, he said, it's something we can ship. It looks nice. And it's like, oh, look at this. He said, and what's worse, there is some thinking that says if you, maybe you're not a coder, so you're just going to vibe, you're going to say, hey, whichever model I'm using, maybe it's Claude or maybe it's Gemini or maybe whatever it is. There's too many. I want to build something that does this, this, and this, and then it should have a shiny whatever and a button over here. So whatever level of detail, you're not a coder, but you just have this idea and I want to be able to make it myself. Okay. So he said, so they tried that. And so then they handed over to the software developer team, and this was a startup. So it was not, he said I think it was 5 people. Said, now we got to spend time trying to figure out what they were trying to accomplish. You can look at their original prompt. You can look at what the tools built, and you spend a ton of time going through it and seeing like, oh, why did they prematurely optimize this, and what the naming, and there are tools that are getting better at this and it's going to improve and whatnot. But at the end of the day, this model, you're treating the artificial intelligence process as a replacement to the efforts that are done normally by humans who do this. So I continue to think that AI is going to be a tool for a while. Like, it's a tool. Oh, look, we can save time with programmers. Well, you're really just not enabling the entry level and junior level engineering people to participate. You're quote unquote replacing them with these AI tools. And then you're saying, oh, senior people, you can just spend your time reviewing the outcome of this vibe coding or whatever efforts that are going on. So, and you've heard that argument before, I'm sure, and I'm kind of on that side of it. So yeah, the hype people are all, it's kind of, if you're a software engineer, get ready you're going to have to learn some new stuff, which is always the case anyway. So that's not alarming. But the people that are being disparaging of it are like this guy just described, or I'm a fan of the Primogen, for example. He's like, you know what? I think it works better if I'm working on an idea and I have the generative AI tools try out a couple of things, so I can have them build up a quick little prototype of an idea. So they don't have to build an entire system. Like, oh, let's just try this. And he said, I could have it spit out 3 or 4 different versions real quick, or maybe dive in a little bit deeper on 1 or 2 of them and then say, yeah, I like the way this worked out. But then you don't have to worry about trying to integrate that back in, because you're doing that. So instead of trying to direct it to, no, you just say, okay, I like this idea. This is the one I'm going to pursue. And then you go ahead and build that architect, you architect the parts as needed to fit into the overarching architecture. So some people have run into problems where their AI workflow deletes stuff. It deleted an entire year's worth of whatever. Okay, that's a tough lesson. But if you're handing over everything to AI without checking it first, well, hey, who's going to be the first one to get on? Hey, we're Boeing and we have no more software engineers. We just hand everything over to AI and we pipe it directly into the 737 MAX 2 million. So get on board and let's start flying. Like, no. So I think we're in for a rude awakening in the near term. I think it's going to end up being, this is not going well. And the people that are still working in my industry are going to say, yeah, we're working like twice as hard and the output sucks. And the customers are going to take note of that. They're going to be like, we know it sucks. We've been telling you this, but we only get robots on the chat or the support line. No humans actually pick up a phone or respond to an email anymore. That sucks. But we have tariffs. So yeah, I think, and the circular investment game is going to be it's a ruse. It's already ridiculous. There's a company here. I'm not even going to plug them because I don't care, but they got a large investment from a chip company, starts with A, and they have an entire AI data center business. So they got investment from the company to use their parts. So they use that money to buy the parts. Circle. And so they're, okay, yay, enabling AI technology in Southern Nevada. The data centers are actually, I think, in Ohio or something. But okay, interesting. But what happens when the circular economy starts breaking down? Whoops. So the circular investment ruse is going to be a problem, I think, probably in the next several months or this year, maybe. I'm not invested in any of this, so that I know of. So good luck. So it's going to be a big problem measured in dollars, but I think there will be some real fallout that is only realized over a longer interval, like the next 5 or 10 years or so. If people are getting rid of their software development teams or downsizing them, and they're assuming that the people they already have are going to be making sure that their AI transition works, those people are going to depart. Ideally, they'll start their own companies. And the people that are left with, now we have no senior engineering, they all left. Well, we're not cultivating the next generation of our teams with junior level? No? Okay, we got AI. Who's going to know what the AI is doing? Nobody? Okay, that sounds good. So I'm falling on the disparaging side, or maybe the cynical side. I think AI is a tool. You should use it to, it's like any tool. Hey, I have a new hammer. Do you still need the carpenter or the person using it? Yeah, you do. If you use it right, the hammer can be a labor saving, or the famous one from Steve Jobs, the bicycle. The bicycle takes a human being, a bipedal life form that is not very fast, and you put that person, the human, on a bicycle, and now they are the most efficient locomoting. That's the most efficient locomotion system available, because it's the leverage and the torque multiplication, and so the human is able to move much more quickly. The standard human on a device that multiplies that efficiency many times. Now you're moving, cheetahs are faster, but you're now able to move in as far as differential. You're vastly faster than a human on feet, right? So you put them on a bicycle. The take-home lesson is you can use a tool like that to actually multiply progress, velocity, whatever you want. But if you say, we don't need the human, we have the bicycle, it's like, well, no, that's not really how that works. So I'm kind of in that camp at the moment. We'll see how things progress, but I'm not quite ready to throw in the towel and start a food truck, although I would start a food truck also. We're going to be done pretty soon, but there was a guy in the Bay Area who owned a food truck. It was like a chicken, I don't know if it was a franchise, chicken sandwich type thing. His stuff was good, but he was a nerd. So he had his Wi-Fi access point. So you could, which is good because you get to advertise the name of your truck. So you would sign on to his, whatever cluck chicken, whatever, access point, right? Wi-Fi. What's the name? Is it access point name? I can't remember. But so you'd see it if I'm looking for a network. Oh yeah, okay, I'll chicken. but he had like UV lights installed inside the truck. So at night he would sanitize the truck. So he'd shut it down, close the doors, turn on these lights for an hour or something, and kill everything, which is important if you're doing chicken, right? You don't want, yeah. So, so the take home is like technology in these areas, innovation deployed in places where technology is usually not the primary thing, is interesting. So instead of having AI write your code for you, maybe we could be using these things to adapt real world scenarios to modernity and make use of those tools in new and interesting ways. And that could be happening by people who know how things don't work and can start migrating towards new ideas and novel implementations and applications and deployments and so on. So instead of saying, hey, how can we use AI tools to replace our talent with people who don't know what they're doing but know how to type, why don't we say, what if we could use these like bicycles? Don't get rid of the riders, put them together, and let's see what we can come up with. Anyway, that's my view. I always end with anything else, and today I don't have anything. You can hear my voice is a little scratchy. I've already mentioned the weather. It's wreaking havoc with my sinuses, which is the root of my voice issues. Maybe that's too much information, but for the moment, I think we've made it far enough. My clock says 1 hour, 18 minutes. So when I trim away the silence, I use the truncate silence feature of Audacity, the open source audio editing tool. So I loudness normalize. I silence the hiss and any other random. It's usually hiss because the hiss of silence gets magnified. So if I do, I usually do a 10-second leader of silence, so it gets the room. I sample that for the noise filter. I apply it to the entire production. So you get a nice silent, like a very quiet period of in the silent sections. So if I stop talking for 5 seconds, it will be silent. It won't be shh, right? You won't even hear, you may not even hear me doing the shh. So pretend I was making a hissing noise. And then when I truncate silence, the 5 seconds of silence gets pulled down to under 1 second. So it should tighten it up a little bit, but generally speaking, there will be less noise. That's the goal. Anyway, that's all I got for you. The time is now 8:24 in the morning on February 21st, 2026. It's Saturday morning. I got 41 on one thing and 33 Fahrenheit. That one uses open weather, so it'll probably update at 9 o'clock. But the other screen over here says 8:24 a.m., 41 degrees Fahrenheit in the greater Vegas area. That's probably true. Let us see what the weekend holds. Take care now. Thank you for stopping by and listening to this audio program.